You're listening to the podcast that changed the game and rocked an entire profession.
All right.
Yes. Yes. In the room together.
Wow.
Has that ever happened before, Nick?
No, it's so weird. Well, first of all, hello, folks. Welcome to another episode of the Roll Call Room podcast. You are not seeing things. This is not a split screen. We are both in the same place at the same time.
Yes.
It's
Look at that.
crazy. I think things are going to happen with us both in the same spot.
Like lightning's going to strike the house.
I think so. And there was a huge storm on the way here.
Yeah, there was. That was terrible coming over today.
Florida.
Us Floridians.
So we are in studio today. We're doing a double
whammy.
Today. All because we love you all, and you've been watching the YouTube, which I need to say, make sure you subscribe and like.
And share.
Please. The like and subscribe is really important, apparently, on YouTube.
And comment.
Yeah, and comment, too. We love comments. I think, did I shut them off? I got to check. I may have shut them off because, you still get those fuck faces from the old agencies that are like, Joe Jabrowski, your podcast sucks. You guys are so negative.
No, we are positive because we're always going to have a positive intent.
Yes. I'm also excited because the other episode that we're going to do, we have a great guest on. Dominic Izzo is going to be joining us on the next episode, which is pretty cool. If you don't know who he is, you will after this.
Look him up.
Yeah.
We kind of speak the same language, right?
Different targets. I don't know if targets is the right word, but I think it is. Different targets. So he really, really focuses in on the TikTok cops, which, we have talked about. We've skimmed. It's not really our niche. It's not really our thing because they don't even I know that they don't listen to our episode because they're too busy making
dancing
TikTok video.
Dancing.
And he finds the craziest ones. I guess my algorithm on TikTok is not good because I get all the mutants. Like I watch the mutant fucking videos of people that look weird, and like it's never dancing cops because I don't want to see that shit.
Yeah, right. I don't either.
And we'll touch it a lot on that. I don't want to do too much on that here. But he has a point, and he's seriously calling out these folks that are like nonstop doing TikTok and ruining the badge,
Well, and the big thing he's been hitting on is the 30 and 30.
Yeah.
That really
I didn't even know about it.
Well, I didn't either until he brought it up. I'm like, what the hell is it? See, that's what happens when you get a couple of old guys that's retired. So the current stuff. I don't want to necessarily say it's under the radar, but we're not on the cutting edge stuff.
Who came up with that 30 and 30?
I don't know. That's insane. And why?
Well, we'll tell the audience because there are a lot of people like us that are fucking.
From what I learned is that they want to have 30% female. What am I trying to say? Personnel in the roles of police by 2030, and that is just insane. It's what I used to tell my old boss was like, "Look, we are the thin blue line. There isn't, I'll give you a warning or I'll see you tomorrow. Sometimes you just got to put hands on people and it's go time." And like my relief sergeant used to say, we are fighters with guns on our hip and you better learn how to fight. There's been plenty of times where I've been scared out of my mind, but I didn't back down. I said, I'm not afraid of anything, but it's okay to be scared. And it's okay to, once you get into the fight, hopefully you train. and you train well, and you try and keep yourself in pretty decent shape to where you can come out of it on the other side healthy.
I don't know if I disagree with 30 in 30. I don't know if I disagree with that. I understand the premise of it. Because we do need more females in the profession. I think that's important. But
do we need 30%?
No. I think once you put a number on anything, whether or not it's a race or a gender, I think you start muddying the waters, because when you have 5 good candidates, 4 of them are male. Out of those 4, 3 are black or African American,
right?
And you're not even close to your 30%. Then your hiring decision is not based on who is the best candidate for the job. It's based on, well, I have a quota and I need to meet it. And we've seen that before. I saw an article just before you arrived today that Minnesota is celebrating the fact that they, for the first time since 2019, are seeing an uptick in their hiring and recruiting. And I couldn't help but think to myself while I was reading the article was, okay, what caliber of people are you bringing in that you're meeting that quota? Because there's no, I want to try and be as respectful as possible, because I don't want to degrade anybody that's going and putting in at that agency.
Right.
But I have to ask myself, if you're putting in for that agency, is it because that's the only agency that will take you? You can't get in at another agency.
And then there's that.
Well, because my agency was that for the longest time. And even now, my agency is in the suburbs of Washington, D.C. And anybody that couldn't get in the FBI or the Secret Service or the CIA police would go to the Alexandria City Police Department and do 2 years, prove their worth, and then jump.
Right.
Because Alexandria PD was known to be very easy to get on. It was a very liberal department.
Right.
So in Minnesota, I've got to ask the question, you came through Floyd and all these other things, and defund the police was ground zero at Minnesota. So now you're toting the fact that your hiring is exponentially better.
Right.
I want to peel behind the curtains. I want to kind of see what the caliber is.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Dominic in 2 years is going to pull up videos of numbnuts in Minnesota PD fucking dancing with pink handcuffs and pink search gloves and pink book bags. And,
Well, but don't you think that there's always those departments around that you always hear of that department that hires anybody. If you got a pulse, they're going to hire you.
Baltimore.
Right. And I think everyone can relate to that agency. And then the true leaders or the good officers aren't there long, and then they move out and they expand themselves. But they can see the people that are there, and they're there for a long time for a reason.
Yeah.
I was a part of an agency, and that everyone was there. And the chief told me that when I started there. He's like, well, if you want to belittle yourself to come to this agency, then I will. He said, but everyone that's here is here because for a reason. It's either a stepping stone or they just can't get a job anywhere else.
Yeah.
But I think that's everywhere. However, it is encouraging to hear that their recruiting numbers are up. And in the Dayton, Ohio area, our recruiting numbers down there are up as well. So I think the pendulum's starting to swing back. I think that having good leadership, even in the political realm, is a good cause for people to want to get reinvested in law enforcement. There was a video that went around, and I shared it on my other show, The Shield Within, is the Tyrus, who's on the Greg Gutfeld show, is interviewing Donald Trump, and he was talking about no income tax for first responders, and I had proposed that locally, and the state rep that I was speaking with, he's like, well, but everybody else is going to want to have no income tax, and I said, well, yeah, have them apply to be a first responder, and you can do that. That's going to be a plus for them to want to get into the field. Well, that's a perk of the job. Every job has a perk. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you take the job, because what's the perks? What's the benefits? What's the bonuses do we get? I know of any job, even in private practice, what's your Christmas bonus? What's, how much vacation time do I get? That's a perk. Do I get a car? That's a perk. Some police agencies, they give you take-home cars. Did you ever take home car in Alexandria?
I did for a short time. When I lived in the city, I got a take home. It was like an old beater, but I was grateful to have it.
Yeah, but it was your car.
It was. I took care of that thing. It was a Crown Vic, which I loved.
Yes.
And it had like bubblegum lights on the top, and it was my baby.
Yeah.
It smelled like broken dreams
and flatulence.
Yeah. But it was my baby. But I agree with you, which is like, do the thing is do the perks outweigh the dealing in an agency like Minnesota? I just shared, those of you that are watching on YouTube, which you should, because fuck Spotify.
Gotta pay Rogan.
Yeah. So I shared on here, and it says in here, Minneapolis is seeing its first boost of police numbers in 5 years. City officials said in 2024, MPD saw a 133% increase in applicants and 76 new hires. This is a major shift, and obviously it's a welcome one, says Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry, who is a complete fucking douchebag.
Yeah, loser.
Just a fucking absolute waste of human skin. And I mean that wholeheartedly. Police Chief Brian O'Hara, the guy's trying to do as much as he can. He's trying. Those of you that work in the Minnesota Police Department, reach out to us. Let us know what this guy's about. I don't really know him very well. I've heard stories about him. I know he's out there with an outer carry vest at crime scenes. I don't know if that's all for show or not. Guy's built like a brick shit house. He's diesel as fuck. He takes good care of himself. Hopefully he's one of the good ones. I have no idea. But I hate to be so negative about it, but 133% increase, 76 new hires. I gotta know. The cop in me wants to know, what's the caliber,
right?
What was the selection process? And then
has a heartbeat.
Yes. Well, we know 76 new hires, but how many made it through the academy and field training?
Yeah, that's true.
Because our I don't know about you, but in the APD, we used to tote all the time.
Right.
We put 18 recruits through the academy, or we put 18 asses in seats.
Right.
And by the time the academy ended, it was 12. So we went from 18 to 12. And then by the time field training came around, whatever the academy did. Yeah, exactly. I can't jerk off in my cruiser.
That's a problem.
The academy didn't say I could.
Right.
Well, and then there were
I can't go home and beat my wife with my duty weapon.
Yeah, I mean, I know.
Don't fuck with me.
I know we're jumping all over the place, but my favorite was when I would go to the academy graduations, and they would go, "This award is for the top academic person." And in my head, and I don't know if you thought like this, but I immediately turned around and went, that person's either going to be gone in the first couple of months, or they're the next captain or deputy chief. One of the two. Because if you are a fucking bookworm and you're acing every fucking test, that's why we need to change the way or what we're looking for in officers.
Yeah.
I need you to have been in trouble in your life. I need you to understand what it's like.
How much weed did you smoke in high school?
Right. And I'm fine with that. Like, I don't have any opinion of weed, to be honest with you. It's more of like, and I've been on background panels. I've been in the round table panels. And when they would leave the room, the things that were discussed about people that have been in trouble for stealing from their parents, like $20 from their parents, or being in trouble in school, or graffiti or stuff like that. And I'm like, don't you want those people out on the street? We're not talking.
You do. It's a thin blue line between chaos and
yeah. I mean, we're talking about El Chapo here. Like, this guy, this person's not
right. And they talk about, you could have went either way. So it's sometimes you need to be a fringe player once in a while to understand the element you're about to deal with. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I mean, for Minnesota's sake, I hope those 76 new hires are all stellar new hires. I really hope. but they had the largest exodus I've ever seen in a law enforcement agency.
Well, duh. We
Yeah.
didn't take apart the fall in Minneapolis. Did we ever take that apart?
We need to.
We're supposed to do that.
We
with
need to
Turk.
do a 3-way with Turk.
Yeah,
One that's
he needs
we
to
can
go on
actually-
vacation, come to Florida.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be awesome. But
Turk, we know you're listening.
we do.
We know you're pushing the cruiser around on midnight.
Yeah, we know he is. We know it is. Pull over. You know you have to go to the bathroom right now. Why are you holding it in? Why are you holding it in right now, Turk?
you know that's
I'm
one
not.
of the
We're not
rules.
continuing until you stop and go to the bathroom. Find a place right now. Use the water bottle that's in the cup holder right now. You know you're looking at it right now. No one is watching you.
Is that
Anyway.
the water bottle or the spitter?
The spitter bottle.
Yeah,
It's
everybody's
the
got
same
spitter.
fucking thing.
Yeah, right.
So
I know. We
so
three
you know he's in the cruiser right now,
laughing. Yeah,
laughing.
the motherfuckers.
We'll get a group text later, and it'll be like, "You motherfuckers! I did have to go to the bathroom."
Yeah, don't violate the old man rules. Pee when you can, not when you
Oh, I
have
was
to.
just gonna say that, man. It was the best advice I ever got from my step 1 FTO. Was always go to the bathroom when you don't need to go to the bathroom, because
tell
you
you.
never. And I've been there, man. I've been on. I know we're jumping around so much, but I love
Yeah,
that
it's a
we do
free
that.
for all episode.
It really is. I was on a stakeout where it was an apartment building and somebody had a gun inside, and I was out in the back, like wooded area, and I was next to a tree,
Mm.
and it started. Like
Oh,
I was
wow.
like, oh, I gotta pee so bad. I'm not proud of what I did. That's why APD, like I said, get me
Both
on the
doors
things I
open.
did, not on the bullshit that you made up, because that's really mild compared to the statute of limitations is over.
Have you ever been on a dead body call and had to take a dump?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, pooped in the dead man's house?
Yep. I've done that. I've also ordered DoorDash. I've also ordered Chipotle DoorDash to a DOA. That was probably my lowest point.
Ew.
But I was working a double. I was working a double, and I was working higher back. The
Oh,
second
God.
shift was a higher back, and they stiffed me with this stiff.
Oh, wow.
Like there was an unwritten
Assholes.
rule with higher back. You don't stick the higher back with shit calls because then
Right.
they'll never want to come back and work for your squad again.
Right.
And they stuck me with a shit call.
Huh.
And I hadn't eaten. So I was like, I reached out to the sergeant and I was like, hey, I need relief to at least go get something. I haven't eaten in like 20 hours.
Oh, good Lord.
And he's like, you got to wait for the ME. Oh, okay.
Not
I
a
did.
problem. And
did.
being in in my area of the woods, that's unheard of because DoorDash didn't exist
Ooh.
in my world there
Really?
in rural Miami County. Oh, yeah. We're a farm community, man. My
No
department was
DoorDash?
only 20 people.
Dude, you could
Yeah.
start your own.
Well,
company.
now there is.
Oh, I was going to
But
say.
4 years ago, that was a luxury. You just didn't get that.
You could have started a company like Stick Dash.
Yeah.
We should start a company
with the
Titty Dash.
PR24. Yeah.
You go on and you order, and they just come and flash you.
Isn't that only?
And we don't discriminate.
Isn't that
It would,
OnlyFans?
like, be PP Dash too. No, OnlyFans is like virtual. I'm talking.
Oh, you're talking
You're
about.
going to get in-person service. It might not be a 10 out of 10, but you're going to get something.
That's right.
You're like, whoa, are those on the floor?
Yeah, that thump. Those aren't footsteps.
But we went on a tangent, but like
no, we went down a rabbit hole with that one. But
I had the Minnesota thing really, and we're going to talk about it in Izzo's in his episode too, because I'd like to know what the correlation with what he's doing, how he feels, and I've seen a lot of his videos where he does call out leadership.
oh yeah,
But I really want to get from him.
tell our audience how that's worked out.
Yeah,
For the roll call room.
there's a reason why all this is behind a glass case now.
That's right.
That shadow box is not given because you're still there.
Right.
But I mean, I think the interesting thing is if our two worlds can combine,
Mm-hmm.
it would be a very interesting dynamic for the profession, even more than what it has been. Because I don't think that these folks that are doing it, I don't want to give anything away before we talk to Izzo. I don't think that these officers that are doing this shit think that they're doing anything wrong.
Right.
And it's the world that we live in.
I don't think they're not thinking down the pike.
No.
Is what it's being a visionary and having forward thought is a lot of it. You know, it's, oh no, let's go do this because this will be fun. No, it's humiliating. And a lot of people that are asking you to do that, because I had people at, oh, hey, Sarge, you ought to do a dance video. No, you will never, ever see me doing that. Number one, it's not pretty. Number two, no, that is just nothing but, that's like doing the chicken dance. I think Vince Neil did that one time and it was humiliating. It's kind of backed on him pretty hard. But a lot of these I want to get into law enforcement and now become an influencer because, you know, I'm on the job. And what a lot of it is remember, you're only interesting because you carry the badge. And the badge has gotten me through a lot of doors and taken me to places that the normal person wouldn't be at. And even today, being in retirement, it's helped open a few doors. But that being said, you just have to take that ability or power and use it wisely. And, you know, people are clicking on you. Not, you know, it falls back to, why was the Jerry Springer show so popular?
Drama.
Well, yeah, but it was a shit show.
Controversy.
Yeah. It was the insanity. Why is Maury Povich so popular? And I'm not throwing hay on him, but, you know, hell, yeah, that would have been fun to be Jerry Springer.
Yeah. Yeah, but
I mean, in the audience every day, what clown show are we going to get into today? And that's where I think a lot of this is where you have to balance the clown show with professionalism. And I think that's where we need to be more professional, whereas you and I have had the gonads to reach out and say, look, this is wrong. What you're doing here, chief, is wrong, or captain, or whoever. And that's, you know, poor law enforcement leadership, which is the basis of this show, is the root of a lot of police suicides, because a lot of these guys feel trapped.
Yeah.
And, you know, fuck it. I'll just eat my fucking gun and be done with it. So poor law enforcement leadership is a direct correlation to that.
Yeah. And
I had a talk over the weekend with a great friend of mine who's also a chief who's watched the show. He knows what I'm talking about. But he said, you know, you talk about that poor law enforcement leadership. I said, yeah, that's right. That's why we need guys like you to stay in, because he's going to retire in a couple of years. I think he's in drop. And I said, you know, the poor leaders, you know, you fake it till you make it because you have a good chief.
Yeah.
Well, now they're the chief.
Yeah.
They can't make it without people under them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Unless they got strong people, because once you're at the tip of the spear, you just ain't got what it takes to stay there.
Yeah.
And generally they're gone pretty soon.
Yeah. And I think the other problem now is that you have organizations out there that they're not doing a great job with combating poor law enforcement leadership. They're almost feeding into it. Like, their conferences are not geared towards, you know, what are you doing for your officers? What are you doing for their well-being? You know, are you having touch bases? And I understand with larger departments, it's hard for a chief to touch base with every single officer.
Right.
But what are you doing about morale? Instead of it being just a dirty word,
right,
which is like, you know, I'm not going to deal with that. Well, you are going to deal with that. You're going to deal with it in several different ways. Yeah, you're going to deal with it in several different ways. You're going to deal with it in recruitment problems, discipline problems, retention, suicides, excessive uses of force, retention, attrition. Like, if your morale is really bad, we'll take agencies like the NYPD. You got guys that have a countdown on their phone at 25 years. They're putting their fucking paperwork in. A happy person is going to turn around and go, "Oh shit, I had my 25 years last month.
Yeah,
I completely forgot."
Yeah,
like the company I work for, it took me a minute to realize I celebrated an anniversary because it was going so great.
Right,
it was going so great. So, you know, when you're happy, it doesn't matter. Like, time flies by. When you're miserable,
time flies when you're having fun.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
you know, that's how my career, next thing I know, shit, I'm pushing 20 years.
Yeah.
At this agency. It's like, that was fun.
Well,
Where'd it go?
I mean, the same goes for us. How long have you been? We're going on 2 years, you and I, right?
Yeah. Can you believe that?
I know. That's what I'm talking about. Like 2 years. Now, bear in mind, and I know you fuckers out there are going to send messages.
You don't have 2 years worth of content.
But yeah. It's easy 2
I'll say it
years
for
when you
you.
put one episode
Yeah.
every 6 months out.
We're pacing ourselves.
We're pacing. We're listen. We're back. We're making them. We're doing them, which is good. I think there's definitely some boost in morale with the leadership at the DOJ now. You have Pam Bondi and you have Kash Patel that are looking at and we need to get
Tulsi Gabbard.
No, I forgot. Damn, he's gonna kill me. The guy from Tulsa that we always have on.
The Travis Yates.
Travis, I'm so sorry.
Courageous leadership himself.
He talks about consent decrees and how bullshit they are, and they just canceled 2 consent decrees.
Yeah, let's call him, see if he answers the phone.
We do. It seems like every time we have Travis on the podcast, there's some trouble afterwards.
No, there always is. Yeah. We lose monetization. We get banned off of something.
I feel like we have to talk about that too. Like,
let's talk about it. You see, I'm a Facebooker. I'm old. I'm going to be 60 next year.
Jesus.
So, I do a lot of work. Facebook's for the old people. Instagram, we get up in the morning, goes Nick and I are up before the chickens. And generally that text fires out, either one of us. And so Facebook has banned, right?
Yeah.
You access to the Roll Call Room Facebook page.
Right. So the page is still there, but I have a backdoor entry to it. Like I can't go on Facebook.com and access our page.
Right.
I have to access our page through another way, and I can't say what way because if I do,
they'll block it.
They'll block that shit too. And that's been a year fight with Facebook about unfreezing our account.
And I think it all comes down to someone dropped a dime on them and said, these guys are blah, 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 blah. Totally. Or Nick does this and Nick does that. So they believe them. Yeah. And, that ought to be another book we work on. What about when the chief lies? So I think a lot of those accusations were unfounded. And I think that they probably got tired of just fucking with it and just said, fuck it, freeze it out and it'll die on its own.
And it's not. I mean, we're in a different platform now, and this isn't a bragging moment, but we're doing 25,000 views per YouTube video. So there's 25,000 of you out there that obviously find the content interesting and appealing. If it was 4, then we would rethink things and say, oh, maybe there's just not a need for this anymore. But there is. The difference is now is, and we've talked about this, we're more dangerous now than we were on the job because I don't have any aspirations of going back. Like, I don't even live in the state anymore. Like,
me neither.
Yeah. And I live in a state that thinks your state, like your jurisdiction is a fucking joke. Like, we talked about it on the Florida episode, which was it's good to be amongst people that believe in the same thing, that, you could be a cop and there's law and order. And there is weaponization of the justice system and the judicial system.
Yeah. We're in the world of Grady Judd right now.
Oh my God. I love that guy.
Polk County.
I love his daily briefings. Like I said, I've reached out. I would really like to get him on this show. But yeah, I mean, I think topics like what Izzo tackles, I think are very, very important. And I can't wait to talk to him because he's gotten a lot of hate from cops for calling out these TikTok cops. And my advice to him, whether he takes it or he doesn't, is fuck those people. Like the ones that are out there banging fucking calls while dipshit is on there dancing. like that's what I think of when I see those videos of you and your cruiser with the red light on.
Yeah.
And you're dancing and you're making these or you're cursing,
lip syncing some ghetto rap,
like with the N-word in it and all this, disparaging your fucking department.
Right.
Listen, You could put smiley faces on your patch and your badge all day long. We could figure out, and Izzo does it all the time. We could figure out what agency you belong to.
Oh, yeah.
It's not hard. I remember coming up, we had a very, very strict social media policy.
Oh, we did too. And it got worse.
And I remember having our attorney look at that social media policy before we launched the original roll call room, because we were given explicit directions from the attorney that we were not to mention where we were from, what state we were from, what agency, and no specific names whatsoever.
Right.
And we adhered to that. And when you have people that have guilty, you know, they hear these stories and they're like, that's me.
Them motherfuckers.
Yeah. You're like, or the best would be would tell these stories and they would turn around and they would text me or the original Mike and be like, oh, that was Sharam. And we would go, yeah, that's that guy.
That's who we're talking about.
That's who we're talking about. And Steve is this guy. And
don't be a Steve.
yeah. But it was, and we talked about this on the Florida episode, that Steve used to stop me and Mike in the hallway and be like, I don't like that you're using like my name. It's not me, right? And we're like, no, no, you're solid. You're a fucking doofus. You're a doofus.
Yeah. Just so we know, the Steve is the guy that's the T-shirt wearing, the look at me cop that is always in the rear with the gear, that's never been in any type of altercation, is never made a drug arrest or an OVI arrest. Or
you see him in court.
Yeah.
You see him in court. And the only reason why you see him in court is because he was subpoenaed because he was on the CAD system as one of the backup officers.
Right.
But
Yeah.
didn't do a report.
Yeah. He didn't do shit.
Didn't do a report even.
He showed up while you're filling out the paperwork.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I've had a few of those subpoenas.
The Steve's,
why am I being subpoenaed? Well, you were listed in the report, and I called the guy up. I'm like, why the fuck were you doing that?
Yeah.
I get the complete
my
report,
favorite
Jesus.
with the Steves, that when you show up, you would turn around and it's their beat. And there's beat integrity, which we need to do an episode on beat integrity. And you show up.
Work your shit.
Yeah, it's your beat. And so you'd be around the corner, you show up, you start getting everything for the primary, which is the beat officer.
Right.
And you got the driver's licenses and you got from your fucking notepad some, pedigree information, and you go, hey, Mark, I went ahead and I got all these people, and they go, thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah.
Go ahead and
appreciate you.
I'll do a supplement.
Yeah.
And you're like, supplement, motherfucker. You're doing the original because you are the primary.
This is your beat, motherfucker.
And I'm sure
Not
it doesn't
me.
change, man.
Right.
Like, it would be interesting to have Turk on and kind of get a perspective. Well, maybe because he's in a smaller department, but like, I think in a smaller department, like a 10-person department, you really have to rely on each other to handle your shit.
There's smaller. My agency was 20 people. That's the bread and butter departments of America. I served on the Ford Police Advisory Board, and they were always thinking like these big departments were the ones that are buying all the cars, and they're like, no, it's all these 1, 2, 3 cars at a time across the whole nation is who they're appealing to, and it really was a learning point for me to know how many of these small, I call them mom and pop stops, just 5 to 20 people departments that are across the United States. Mm-hmm. Another out west, they did a unified police where they just this whole square mile areas that everyone's under the same jurisdiction.
Wow.
So I think what we need to start looking at is the future of policing in the United States, where you don't have, it's good and bad. So the big thought process, it's an expensive endeavor for the public. The bad thing about it is you're losing your hometown guys.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, I'm up. It's 4:00 in the morning. I'm awake for whatever. No, it's 3:30. And dog went out or something. Couldn't get back to sleep. Phone rings. Mm. Yeah, or I get a text, and it's my buddy that the manager of the local bar. We used to go and do bar checks, and he's like, "Hey, dude, you up?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what's going on, bro?"
I'm always up.
He had a cop question, and it got down to there was a patron he'd thrown out of the bar that was still in the lot. He's like, man, I got home and I checked the cameras, and that motherfucker is still sitting in the lot with the door open in the car, and the car's running.
It's trespassing.
Yeah, or operating,
Yeah.
motor vehicle,
The key in
whatever
the
else. And
ignition.
I'm like, so what can I do you for? Well, do you know anybody that's still working? They could just run by. I'm like, fuck, I'll just call 911, man.
Yeah.
So I called, one of my old, I knew the dispatcher, and I said, hey, this is who it is. And she's like, hey, what do you do? She's like, my God, do you ever sleep? I said, no.
No. What is that?
But one of my people from my former agency showed up and took care of business after that. But he's like, "Oh man, that was cool." And I said, "Wow, quit being such a pussy." He's like, "Well, you have to understand, I can't be throwing people out and then calling on him." He said, "That's bad for business." I said, "Sure, no problem. Let me call. I don't care." That's the position we're in right now. Whereas when I was talking to my friend that's the chief, it's like, look, you don't have to be in that position.
Yeah.
Give it to a mouthpiece like us.
Yeah.
We can disseminate that out to the people that are listening. And trust me, brothers, sisters in blue, a lot of these strong chiefs don't like the bad ones. Because it's just like with us. You get a couple of bad ones and it makes us all look bad. Everyone's fighting. Right. And they can't say anything. They can't say, that guy's a fucking asshole, but you can tell Nick and Mark.
Yeah. And I think we say this every once in a while on these episodes, because we get folks that reach out, like lieutenants and captains and deputy chiefs, and they're like, oh, you're lumping everybody together.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really not. Like, if you're listening to this stuff, and this goes back to the first season, first episode,
they were so good.
If you're thinking about it and you're worried it's you that we're talking about, do some self-reflection.
Yes.
And if in that self-reflection you're like, I know that's not me because I take care of your people, I take care of my people, then you don't have anything to worry about. It's the ones that turn around and put their head in the sand, don't listen to stuff like this, and they continuously keep on fucking their people over and over.
Right.
And the same people you step on the way up are the same ones that you're going to see as you fall. And I try and limit the amount of references I make to my old agency. It was the same way. The chief that did what he did to me fell fucking hard. Like, when all the chips are fell. I only say that because I just saw a picture of him with the Police Institute on Instagram.
Is he back to work?
He's back to work, and he's working for the National Police Institute.
What the fuck is that?
Scrolling through it, I got to put it up.
What is the National Police Institute?
Yeah, it's like a fucking police. Hold on, I'm gonna.
Is it like the Hall of Fame?
No, no.
Hall of Shame. It's like
National Policing Institute.
Okay, so is it another retirement job like the assessment center?
It's basically like a wannabe. It's basically like a IACP, but it's national. Like, so.
Okay,
this is what it looks like, folks. And it says the National Police Institute is a trusted independent research and training organization dedicated to helping law enforcement agencies solve complex challenges through practical, evidence-based solutions and forward-thinking strategies. And,
okay, but what do you do?
Yeah. Oh, so here it is right here. I'm going to show you this right here. So this is the post that I see on one of the social media links. And I'm like, oh, they were in Fairfax, where I used to, that's right next to where I was a cop.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are.
Is that our guy?
There's the fuck face right there.
I thought he moved back to California.
Oh, yeah. He moved back to California, but I guess he was on this trip.
Oh, got it.
And anytime you get a guy like this that was pushed out of the CHP for multiple scandals, using CHP's jet to take his wife on trips, a scandal with Smith & Wesson when they bought Smith & Wesson guns, 20,000. I don't want to get into details because I don't know I can't remember the particulars, but it was bad.
So it's another one like we call the retread guys. They just show up, wreak havoc, leave, and then show up somewhere else, wreak havoc.
And that's
leave.
what this guy does. Like, he went and worked for NHTSA for 7 years after CHP, or 8 years after CHP. And then my agency was looking for a chief for new and fresh ideas, external. This guy applies, and the idiots at the city of Alexandria, they go, "Oh, this guy was the fucking commissioner of CHP. He ran the whole entire state of California.
What a deal!
He was put in by Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, so they were like, we got a deal here, and he single-handedly dismantled and destroyed that agency. And here we are, and we talk about the regurgitation of poor leadership. And he's not in a chief position anymore, thank God.
Right.
But he's in an influential position where, you know, they're zoomed in way too much.
That guy's throat. You were checking out the neck tattoo.
But he's in a position where he's going around and he's giving advice to agencies on how to better their agencies. You lose all legitimacy when you put people like that in position. Well,
and then it gets back to there's really not a scale. And we talked about doing this before. It just takes a lot of resources. You know, a lot of city councils don't know any better. You know, they just make a decision based upon what they have. If you have a lot of acronyms after your name or a master's degree or whatever else. And I'm not saying anything bad about having a master's degree, but if you're truly that poison in the barrel, you know, I don't think anyone's doing a really good background investigation as to why did you leave? Why are these guys all across the country going from agency to agency? Why were you fired? I like what Yates says. If you got fired from your previous agency, you need to be put out of pasture.
Yeah.
If you come here and crime rate goes up, you need to be fired. And it needs to be a clause in your contract that we'll hire you for 3 years. If crime rate goes up at the will of the mayor, we can dismiss you and we don't have to pay you any severance.
I think the same blacklist that you and I are on, not the Brady list, the blacklist. Chiefs like that,
right,
and chiefs like Art Acevedo, they should be put on a list of not hireable. Like, how many chances do you need as a chief in high profile position? I mean, CHP is nothing. I mean, CHP is bigger than the commissioner of NYPD, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
So fucking California is a huge, huge state. And if you fuck that position up, and you've been in positions where you have controversy circling around you, you should never be allowed to influence anybody. I only thought of that because I just saw that yesterday, that post, and I meant to send it to you and go, look at this fucking guy.
Have a little anxiety?
Yeah, I was surprisingly anger more than anxiety. Because
it's kind of like, and he's back.
Yeah,
Here we go.
I was like,
how are we doing on time?
I think we are ready to wrap up.
Good jump off point.
Yeah, I think so.
So manscaped.com.
Oh, yes. Yes, and I am working on another new sponsor that Mark doesn't know about. I'm surprising him right now. I'm working on a sponsor right now. I can't announce who it is yet.
Well, we'll talk offline.
Some stuff.
Right. You bastards.
Stay tuned for our other episode with Dominic Izzo. We're super excited.
Yes.
I can't say it enough. Make sure you're subscribing on YouTube and you're hitting like and comment. Watch the whole entire video. These are all algorithms that YouTube rates us on. And we're really trying to grow that YouTube side of the business.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning in. Mark, I'll leave it to you to
20% off with Roll Call Room as your promo code on Manscaped. Also, if you have an idea, it's Nick at rollcallroom.com or Mark with a C at rollcallroom.com.
All right, folks. We'll catch you on the next one. Be safe, and Turk, go to the bathroom.